All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to PASCEP, Pan-African Study Community Education Program here at Temple University. The instructor for this etymology class tonight is Abdullah Talib Mosi. He's under the weather today, and he asked that I teach the class on linguistics and semantics. He has a very heavy schedule where he teaches class in Delaware, New York, and he has a few other instructors who will fill in. I'm one of them. My name is Robert Wilkins. I started PASCEP September of 2007. September of 2007. I walked into a jerk chicken store and I went to go order my dinner, and I looked over and I saw a PASCEP book. While I was ordering the food, I picked it up and I saw etymology. And being that, you know, one of my core studies is Hebrew under Adverti Amanubi Ruakbatal, Dr. York, I took an affinity to words, etymology of words, history of words, and Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, Semitic languages. So this class, etymology, it picked my attention. I sat the book down for about 2 years, never came to class, and a friend that I was talking to, just out of the blue one day, a sister, she just came up and said, "Robert, I think you should take this class," and she had a PASCEP book. I said, well, I'm going to take this class. That's when classes was being held over at Anderson Hall. Okay, I come to class the first evening, Abdullah comes in, and the classroom was filled with about 31 students. And once he started teaching, I've been hooked and been learning ever since. Okay. Now, what Abdullah did the first 3 classes, he just gave a basic overview of linguistics and etymology that they teach at this university. He didn't go into any concentrated lessons because he wanted to pretty much give you an overview. In those 3 weeks that he taught class, he's touched on numerous subjects of linguistics, language, comparative languages, etymologies, and he threw a lot of linguistic terms at the class that people might not be familiar with. Tonight, he wanted me to skip over the prefix-suffix rules because the students that we have in class are pretty much advanced. So he said, Robert, skip over the prefix suffix rules and just go right into a semantic lesson. Okay. The other instructors here, you can go online and see some of the classes that they've taught here. Yahya, Abdul, Malik, he expounds upon etymology in Arabic, etymology in Arabic, and the history of the Moors as it applies to etymology. Sanjeti, Unk, Rock. You can go on YouTube, see some of his videos. He goes by his Igbo name also online. Fatunde. And my name is Robert Wilkins. We had other PASCEP classes from maybe 3 years ago, we started putting them up, trying to attract people to come to PASCEP and take etymology and other various classes that they have here at PASCEP. Okay. Who has this? Now tonight, here at the university, they teach a class called linguistics. Linguistics is the scientific study of language and its various sub-disciplines. At the university, this degree study will take 4 years of various classes in fields of phonetics, the study of discrete phonemes, sounds, b, p, and how they contrast with one another. Phonology, phonology takes those discrete minimal sound units and study them as a whole in a language and how they contrast with one another. It's the study of the entire system of languages, not just the individual discrete sounds, phonemes. Okay? Next is morphology. Morphology is the discipline of studying forms, words, how they change, inflections, derivations. And that here at the university, they'll spend 1 semester on morphology rather than, 2 hours. 1 semester. Morphology has a sub-discipline also, which is word formation. How we put together words, we blend words, reduplication, goody-goody, derivations, good, better, best, entertain, entertainer, entertaining. You have compound words. You have back formation, like the word, an example would be the word babysitter existed before the word babysit. He went into some of the morphology. He just touched upon it. Maybe in the next class or two, he'll go a little bit more in depth. Syntax. Syntax is the way that we put orthological words in order. Words, phrases, and syntax don't go in depth about what words mean. It's just pretty much how we grammatically use words. Okay? Semantics is the scientific study of words, the scientific study of the meaning of words. And how we distinctively have issues about what words mean in different languages, how words are contrast with different cultures across language families. Okay? Pragmatics. Semantics is what we're going to focus on tonight also. Pragmatics is how we take words, sentences, and phrases and we study them in usage. In usage. We want to know every aspect, intention, extension of words, and how they mean phrases. We want to know every little nuance of a word or a phrase in usage. You know, a Jamaican person might say the chicken is atop the farm. You know, that means behind. You know, behind the farm. You follow? We say trunk. They say bonnet in French. You know, it's pragmatics. The usage of words, you know, I'll pay you $10 to watch my daughter. Do that mean I can't just give you $10? Why do we put only if? We'll just input only if. Right? I could just give you $10. You know, pragmatics. Okay. These are other instructors that you want to go on YouTube and watch some of the PASCEP videos. I put up about maybe 8 videos with Abdullah. Another person is Committed Bay. Sanjeti been here about maybe 13 times. He focuses on hieroglyphics and etymology. Committed Bay focuses on the social and political aspect of etymology, how it affects, how it can affect you financially, economically, socially. Focusing on semantics. The study of the scientific meaning of words. Now, linguistics and linguists were in a battle with psychologists and philosophers over who should be able to describe meaning. Philosophers were, no, we should be able to describe what words mean. Linguists were saying, no, we study words in general. And of course, the linguists won. They were more focused in how languages contrast with other languages, field study, university programs and curriculums were designed by linguists. And they won over who would decide or chase meaning. Because meaning is a moving target when it comes to words. I'm pretty sure you've been in arguments over what a word means and its social impact on how, you know, we're psychologically, you know, inundated with all of these different meanings and shades of meanings. You follow? Now, in linguistics, you have higher disciplines also. They study how babies acquire languages. That's early child development of language. They study how language functions in the mind, neurolinguistics. And again, you have linguists that study social patterns of language, social linguistics. Okay? You have psycholinguistics, how language affects the mind. Okay? And then you have linguists who compile data, corpus linguistics. You might have you might have touched upon corpus linguistics during the election. Last year, during the debate, linguists took all of the words that Trump and Hillary said during the debate, and they put them in numerical order, which words were said the most frequent. Of course, we know the most frequent words or phrase spoken by Trump was "Make America Great Again." Make America Great Again. They took all the corpus data, they took all of the words he said, put number of frequency. Let's make America great again. The second most frequent word he said was inner city. Inner city. Inner city. You know, the fourth most frequent word he said was emails. Emails. He talked about the emails. Okay? Corpus linguistics. They compile data. They take statistics. You know? They count how many words are spoken by women in a day and how many words are spoken by men in a day, of course. You know? They did compile. The end result was women do speak a little bit more than men during the course of the day. Okay. All right. Semanticists, they chase meaning. What I mean by meaning is, let's take the word itself. If we was to do the etymology of the word mean, it dates back to Old English. Circa 12th century. Okay. Now, in contemporary times, we know what the word means. You know, when we go from a source language to a target language, when we're translating words, we would say Rakim means mercy. Rakim in Arabic means mercy. Now, prior to the 12th century, before this new neologism, linguistic term, a new word, neologism, was created. Any word that was created, a philosophy follows.
Okay.
So prior to this word mean being created in Old English in the 12th century, would we say Rakim means mercy? What was the concept prior? Like I said, meaning is a moving target. The word meaning itself came about the 13th century.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
The 13th century. Prior to the 12th century, how was the concept of going from a source language to a target language accepted without this concept of meaning or meaning?
Well, see, my understanding of it was, and is,
Yes.
that if you were not wealthy, you didn't speak the language. If you were a poor person, you like, never could come up with good words. And you started listening to wealthy people, people who were in charge, who had money to speak, then start changing the meanings of things. I close them out.
Yeah, very good analysis. Take for instance, Old German
Mm-hmm.
and High German.
Mm-hmm.
Same language.
Mm-hmm.
What are the distinctions? Okay, some of German words is plate, fork,
Mm-hmm.
spoon,
Mm-hmm.
beef, right? Some other German words are plow, field, ox, cattle. Do you see the difference?
Mm-hmm. That means the folks who are working, who were poor, understood those words. All right?
Yes, ox,
Mm-hmm.
field,
Mm-hmm. Harvest.
cattle.
Was harvest one of the words, or they didn't use harvest at the time?
Say that again.
Harvest was not one of the words at the time?
I gotta look up harvest,
Okay.
most likely, because most of your words
Mm-hmm.
before the French hierarchy came in
Uh-huh.
and started displacing Germany,
Yeah.
they brought in a language that their words.
Okay.
Now, cut the light off, all German words. Cut their light off.
Yeah, offset. They go
Yeah.
to off thing.
Low German.
Oh, that's all?
Cut. Der or the
No.
light
Mhm.
off. All Low German words.
Now, when you're saying low German, are we talking about the ones who are not educated yet? It's basically what it is, because it sounds
Well,
like stuff.
it's German before conquest.
Okay, all right.
It's German before conquest. When the French came in, they brought in their language.
Yeah.
High German, instead of saying cut their light off, it would be extinguish
Okay. And that sounds German. Okay.
the illumination.
Oh, now you're talking. Now we're.
Now you're talking.
Mhm.
Extinguish the illumination.
Okay, all right.
Because the language that they brought in was more of an aristocratic language.
Or I don't know if it was so much of Mr. Granny. I always thought it was a matter of, I'm going to show you I am better than you. I have more class than you have.
Yes.
Really?
Well, linguistic term. Let's go back to some linguistic terms.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at how a linguist
Mm-hmm.
would bring up the language of describing the differences between Old German and High German.
Okay.
Make total sense.
The linguistic term for the conquering nation of people would be superstratum.
Oh, I like
The
that word.
conquering nation of people.
And the nation of people were conquered,
Mhm.
their language falls lower because the conquering nation of people, their language takes prominence, precedence. And the language of the indigenous people becomes the substratum.
But then if I want to be in charge, I have to do that, because other than that, you have as much power as I have.
Yes,
Okay, I'll rest my case.
yes. Rakim means mercy. How can it mean mercy? All they did was take the symbols and through a process
There you go.
called metathesis,
Big words, I like these words.
yes, Abdullah will go through this.
Mhm.
He mentioned it, metathesis, which is Greek for I put in a different order.
Ooh, I like, well, that right there.
They took the symbols and put in a different order. You see here?
Mhm.
The M. The K and the C are cognates. They have the same sound. The R.
T-H-E.
And the vowels don't mean anything. Because remember, most of the H is an aspirate. It's considered an aspirate. In linguistics, small puff of air. We just go. Now, going from a source language to a target language, sometimes aspirates are dropped
Yeah.
or added. Nasals are dropped or added, changed. The M's become N's. Aspirate root word spear mean breath or air. Okay?
So how?
All they did was, good question.
I'm sorry. So if I go to your country and take of your country, and I say I'm better than you are, I got to come up with some stuff that you don't understand, because I may not understand your stuff, so that if I want to be in charge, I got to make up my own stuff as I go.
Right, the evidence of that, let's go back to a linguistic term, it's called spillover. Spillover, two words, spillover. Wow. You cannot take a language that is inferior to another language and make one language when most of the root words come from the language that you're conquering. You follow?
There you go. That's where I'm going.
So
Yes.
you have to come up with other methodologies, linguistic methodologies, like this. They just switched around the symbols. Like when we say the word orange, that's not English. English went through 3 different phases
Okay.
in history. Old English. Old English is about the time of the book Beowulf, written by an anonymous author, Beowulf. Middle English is about the time of Shakespeare, Shakespeare. And modern English is the time period of Harry Potter, you understand? Yeah, spillover. When we say the word orange, cola, the word cola come from Africa.
That's cold and that kind of thing?
Cola, pizza, Italy. English is a bastard language. They borrow a lot of words from other cultures.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a list. We went in depth, like, I'll just give you an example. Some of the German words are kindergarten, Frankfurter, blitz, playing football.
Okay.
Some African words that we use in English, banana, jumbo, zebra, zombie. Some Chinese words that we borrowed and are direct spillovers. Silk, tea, ketchup.
All right.
Chow, tofu. Arabic, algebra, mattress, safari, zero, assassin. You know, Shakespeare claimed he invented the word assassin.
Right.
Italian, replica, gallery, balcony, metal, dome. Even Portuguese words, breeze, cobra, coconut, potato, tank. Those are Portuguese words.
But can you trace all these words back, most of these words back to Africa?
A lot of the roots,
Okay.
a lot of the root words.
Okay.
Because remember, Arabic is a triconsonantal language. Most of your Semitic, Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan languages
So it's kind of, this goes all over the place.
are triconsonantal in nature. 3 roots. Some have 4, some have 2.
Really?
R, K, M.
Mhm.
You know, and that's why I got rid of the vowels.
Oh,
Got rid of
okay.
the vowels. and you'll see the same word. You know, Hebrew, aretz, earth.
Wait a minute. E-A-R-T-H.
See the R,
Uh-huh.
see the T,
The A.
and the H. Remember, the H is a aspirate. Aretz, R, the T.
How about the A?
Remember the H, going from a source language to a target language, sometimes
That's right, yeah.
aspirates are dropped.
Mhm.
Aspirates are, you can see this, earth,
Mhm.
terra. Then
A-R.
the R, the T, the aspirate.
A. How about the A? Yeah, that's okay.
Well, remember,
That's
this
a
is a direct carryover.
Oh, the
See,
vowel.
we'll bleed for this.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to constructions like this, we'll bleed. When it comes to constructions like this,
That's the vowel thing.
E8. When it comes to constructions like this, we'll bleed. We got blood. We'll bleed for constructions like this. But a construction like this, they'll call it a pseudo. Remember, in linguistics, you got comparative linguistics, how they'll take language A and how it contrasts with language B. They'll say this is pseudo. They'll say this is pseudo.
Meaning what?
It look like a pseudo meaning false. That's a fake etymology.
Okay.
But Rakim do mean mercy.
I'm trying to tell you.
Wow.
They'll say, no, that's just coincidental. They'll say that's just a
Anyway, they'll
coincidental.
say anything in charge of it.
Yeah, they don't. I call it convenient amnesia.
I like that.
Convenient amnesia.
Thank you, thank you.
They'll understand these constructions, but when it comes to a construction like this, they just get amnesia.
Well, is it possible that it's true they don't understand that? It's too simple, and it came from poor, supposedly uneducated people who really understood the world. But if you sit there and say that's pseudo or that's a low-level language, then you can justify what you're saying. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well. Let's look at a little bit more going from source language. I gotta give a Hebrew example because that's where, I'm pretty much
Okay.
discipline in my study come from, but I have to marry that to etymology and what, Abdullah teaches here in the class. And I noticed the patterns. Take, for instance, the sound and language chart.
Okay.
How the phonemes contrast with one another, how the B's, the P's and the F's
Yeah.
transliterate. You might have Phone, but it makes the sound of an F. Phone.
Yeah.
Phone.
Yeah, but that's
Truly
what it
confused.
is.
They claim his name is Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. Jacob Grimm.
That's always
As in Grimm's fairy tales,
Uh-huh.
Hansel and Gretel,
mhm.
Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood. Him and his brother were linguists. I believe 1712.
Somewhere around there.
Don't hold me to that.
somewhere
1712.
around there.
Him and his brother Wilhelm, they were linguists, and they wrote short stories. I mean, they wrote short stories, but they were linguists also. So they claim that they discovered these phonemic sound shifts, how the F Most of the words in a source language that have an F, when you transliterate them into a target language, the PH sound is the same. It was called the law of consonantal
Let's spell the stuff again. Okay.
shift.
Mm-hmm.
Pedal, foot, pedal. The P and the F, how the F transliterate into a P. But I noticed one thing on this chart. I noticed one thing on this chart, right here. The B and the P, the D and the T, and the G and the K. And I looked at it and I said, these make two different sounds. The way one could be vibrating in your throat, they're called plosives. B, b, b.
Okay.
You could feel your
Yeah, okay.
vocal cords vibrating. You don't feel them. And I noticed, hey, in Hebrew, you have the Beged Kafet letters. The Beged Kafet letters. They all make two different sounds. He did not discover this. He uncovered uncovered
Thank you.
these sound correspondences.
I wonder where he got it from.
I'm seeing
Yeah, I know where I think they came from, but anyway, we won't go there.
Beged,
Mm-hmm.
Beged, Beged, Ka, Fet. The P could be an F.
Mm-hmm.
Beged, BGD, Ka, Fet. And they make two distinctive sounds
Makes sense.
in the vocal cords.
As I
It's
said,
scientific. It's scientific.
I don't know where they got it from, though, but anyway.
Again, this would be comparative, because in the early 18th century, 18th century on up to the 19th century, linguists were in a debate.
Mm-hmm.
They were in a debate. Some thought that words just stood alone, didn't have meaning, like Ferdinand Saussure. He believed in that words stood in isolation.
No.
Book. It didn't mean anything. The book. His theory is that words don't have meaning unless they structured around other words. Then they take on meaning. You follow? A word in isolation does not mean anything. You follow? And his theory was called structuralism. Structuralism.
So that, but when you tell me this, that sounds to me like there was nobody to challenge what they were saying, so they just said what they felt like saying.
Well,
They got to be
the students gathered together in these linguistic forums. The students got together, they were called the neo-grammarians.
Oh, I heard of them.
Neo-grammarians.
Make sure things were grammatically.
They challenged the linguists of that time period.
There you go.
They were saying, well, a lot of these sound correspondences, they don't follow your pattern. They don't follow your pattern, that you're contriving, that takes place all the time. So they went up against these linguistic scholars. Follow? And they said, well, these languages follow rules.
Thank you.
And they came up with, like for instance, you can only say one word at a time. Let's say, try to say book and chair. But chair. I can't say book and chair at the same time.
But then you also go back to the same theory that two things can't hold the same space at the same time.
Well, the airstream,
Mm-hmm.
the airstream, linguistics should be classified as in the field of biology.
Pizza and salad?
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Biology instead of language arts,
Okay.
because we're using our anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
They call this the vocal
Or,
stream,
okay,
the oral cavity.
okay.
Linguistics, they don't say mouth, they say oral cavity. The vocal auditorial tract. You know, the terms are different.
Yeah, sounds good.
These neo-grammarians went up against their professors.
They didn't get expelled? Usually when you challenge.
No, it took linguistics to another field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Scientific study of language, rather than a comparative etymological. Well, language follows rules. There's 7 anatomical ways that we enunciate sounds. Gutturals, you know, we have bilabials, we have dentals. You follow, we have whistling fricatives, you know, vowels. Here in the university, they take the lessons to the next step. Like us, we would say a vowel is any letter of the alphabet that's not a consonant.
Okay.
At the university, they learned something totally different in linguistics. They learned that a vowel is basically a unrestricted passage of air out of the larynx through the oral cavity.
Oh, I like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
So that
The lessons continue. And that's what we're going to get into. That's a basic overview. Instead of going 2 months in, let's say, syntax and semantics, and just summed it up in 15, 20 minutes. A lot of the terms you would go through, a lot of the history of linguistics. In the first day of linguistics, they'll go over the curriculum, they'll go over what you're going to be studying, but by the time you get into the lesson, it's over with. You know, I went into the lesson, a little bit of history of linguistics, and some of the, you know, topics that's being debated today. You know, do Rakim mean mercy? No, it's the same word. Now we have the lexicon of words to explain the conquest. You understand? Palimpsest. They actually have a word for when someone take an ancient codice, parchment, scroll, tablet, erase it, and put their own words. Palimpsest. It's an actual word for it.
What makes it, what lets you know they changed it? There's something about that word that lets you know they've changed something. I can't tell you what it is. But there's something about that word that lets you know they've changed something.
Palimpsest.
Yeah.
I never did the etymology of this
There's
word.
something about that word that lets you know they changed something. Okay? And I don't know what
They
it is.
let going. They took the original word and cracked it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when you look at it,
They
you
might-
gotta find out what it is.
They might call that pseudo-linguistic, but let's see. Let's see.
I'm trying to tell
Palimpsest.
you, when you see it, I'm trying to tell you, it tells you they changed some stuff.
Old books, Old books printed before 1501, they call them incunnables.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't have vocabulary tonight.
Incunnables.
Oh, incunable.
Words printed. Books printed before 1501. I don't know how they had that many. I think the printing press was created in 1430. In 1501, it took 1 year to print the Bible, one Bible, you know. You got 70 years later, you know, books. The math don't add up. But that's a different.
Well, is that
Different
because
stuff.
they didn't figure out what they needed to put into ink to make it work, kind of thing?
Early printing, you had what is called copyists.
Mm-hmm.
An actual term, copyists.
Mm-hmm.
They would take documents and just write them over for the printing press.
Okay.
And
yes.
you know, when you get these alternative spellings, remember they use little blocks to go into print to make the impressions. So let's say you had the word fear. The next block would have the R. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, well, alternative spelling is FEA. And then that would take on, you know, this is a poor example, but I'm giving you
Gotcha.
somewhat what happened.
Well, I was
These alternative spellings.
I was under the impression, I don't remember reading it. They use jewels to make ink, to do printing and stuff. Certain jewels they use.
Certain jewels?
Jewels.
Nah, that's something that's something I gotta look into.
Like I'm trying to think, emeralds.
Emeralds?
Emeralds, I think, we're going back probably 780 centuries. But they use like jewel, emeralds when they wanted to print something on people. It's worth looking into. When I was reading it, I was like, wow. And I was surprised.
Yeah.
How did they come up with the idea? It was something about jewels. They had to crush them and do something.
There's tons of books on is modern science catching up to ancient knowledge?
There you go.
Is modern science
But it's
catching up to
something about
ancient
jewels.
knowledge?
That's how they wrote different things. I cannot remember what they were writing. And I thought it was fascinating. But I couldn't
Etching in stone, you know, it's a mystery, you know, the
green one.
designs and.
Emerald. I think emerald was the one I remember. They used other ones for different things, but
I gotta look into that.
yeah.
I gotta look into that.
And they were crushing in such a way and had to do some process that you could write with.
Yeah, I gotta look into that.
But when I read it, I was like, oh my God. But I couldn't find it again once I read it.
Right.
So,
no.
So it must have been true if I couldn't find it again.
The Chinese, you know, they have their ways of doing, you know, and wonder how they carved all, you know, the stylus and stone carvings. It's just too intricate.
Yeah. When you start thinking different things in history that they just kind of leave out of books, you start reading stuff, you're like, oh, yeah.
Right.
But when you find out about these stones, especially the green one, the emerald, for whatever reason, had a lot of power to it.
Emerald tablets, yeah.
That they could write stuff with it, but it was crushed up in such a way, and I don't know. It's
Yeah, they
just
have
interesting.
methodology. You see gears, you see all kinds of advanced technology, Giza bulb. You know, I read about them too. Now, the way linguistics chase meaning,
Mhm.
they don't look at words the way that we look at words. They put words in lexical fields. They categorize words. Like for instance, if I was to go to a person and say, name the days of the week,
Mhm.
you know, most will start at Sunday or Monday and
Right.
just go down in order. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Mhm.
It wouldn't seem normal if a person said Wednesday, Monday, Sunday, Friday. You know?
Is that because of the way you've been taught?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Think about it.
yes. Like for instance, English is a masculine gendered language. You know, if a group of people was coming in this room, the instructor or professor would be, come on in, men and women. Why do they put the men first? Boys and girls come in. Because English is a masculine gendered language.
Yes, I agree.
A pack of sheep, it follows order. I would be out of line if I say, a pack of wolves. I would be out of line if I said a pack of sheep.
Really?
English, they'll take two words and blend together. Alcoholic, alcoholic. But if I say maraholic, marijuana, holic, the abusive use of it, I would be out of order. But remember, when you're studying meaning, you have a linguistic term called stimulus freedom.
But marijuana had another name back in the day, and I cannot remember what it was.
Stimulus freedom.
That makes sense.
I can answer back any way I want as long as it's not harmful to you. If a person walked in the room and said, well, how am I dressed? A female with skirt on and shirt, you might say, well, your shirt don't match your blouse. You might say, well, you got on flowery colors that project a positive attitude. I might not say anything. Stimulus freedom. Another person might say 4 o'clock, and we'll look at them for something. Yeah, stimulus freedom. Okay, linguists, they categorize words. Like, let's say the items that we put on the dinner table, we won't put them in order. If I say name the items that we use on the dinner table, it's no ordering to it. We'll just say plate, fork, spoon. This person might say, knife, cup, glass, fork, spoon. It's no ordering.
As long as you list all the items.
Yes. I'm just giving you different perspectives of how linguists chase meaning and the way words are can have diverse connotations and denotations. How words can be categorized, and some words we take and we don't categorize them. You understand? In these lexical fields, the example I gave was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll order them. Fork, spoon, knife, plate. We won't order. You follow? You'll say, well, that lion attacked the girl. It could have been a lioness. you follow? Push and pull is opposites. Yeah. We'll say, the book is on the table. Would I be out of line if I said, the table
Under the book.
is under the book?
Or the table holds the book?
Holds or under the book.
Okay.
I wouldn't seem like I'm in my right mind. This is what linguists study, semantics and meaning. How we agree upon these concepts. The applied meanings. The applied meanings are accepted upon too.
What now?
What is implied?
What? So we relying a lot on linguists to tell us what, when, where, how to do things. So we go along with the program.
They create the curriculum. Yes.
I rest my case.
Yes.
So the implied meaning of all the linguistic original words, symbols, is what is our English today.
Okay.
Keep it real.
most of your languages outside of the Western diaspora, they're concrete. Linguistic term concrete. Versus abstract.
Meaning,
Your heart is your heart.
It's called-
Abstract, your heart means love.
Oh, okay.
You follow?
Example.
Give the definition.
Yes.
heart is heart.
Yeah. Hebrew, lev. And what they did was took those same symbols, love, affection, caring.
Got the only.
Because remember, meaning, you have associative meanings, you know, how the speaker relates to you, and you're associated with the way that that person views the world, and you contrast or parallel how they see the world with you.
Right.
Yeah, I can associate with that. Then you got descriptive meanings, descriptive meaning.
Associated meaning.
Table, chair, book. I'm describing things that we agreed upon in a society. Because mainly the way linguists look at words and meaning, they try to use the least amount of thinking and arrive or derive to the point that it's enough. It's enough. Rich, richer, riches.
So can,
Go ahead, question?
I'm sorry. So can we say the classroom has chairs, tables, kind of thing?
Yes, we agree upon that.
Right. Okay.
Now, in German, table is Tisch, I believe. Tisch. Tisch. What? Tree is Dal. Dal. D-A-L. Dal. You know. I don't want to go to the Hebrew, you know. Hebrew, you don't see the same thing. Beautiful is Tazibi. They just took the letters and switched them around. Elm, like an elm tree is Elin. The N becomes the M. They're the same words.
Just gotta be like.
Yeah, they're the same words. So I had to go to a different language. We say black. Other languages they say negro, morenos. It's just agreements. And remember, linguists don't see wrong or right. They
Right.
see acceptable was disagreeable, grammatical, ungrammatical.
Really?
They don't see right or wrong.
I can see
It's
what,
just not accepted.
I can see what the students had to be like that.
Well, certain precepts go across all languages. Like in every word spoken or written is one of the 8 parts of speech. In any language,
Wow.
you know, that's a precept that can't be broken. Any word spoken or written is one of the 8 parts of speech.
Any word.
Noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, verb, interjection, conjunction, or preposition. You follow rules. Concrete versus abstract. They put an abstract meaning placed upon words that already existed, that already named things in the world. You know, even in the Bible, Semitic languages, first task Adam was given, you know, be a gardener. Second task, name things. Okay? Linguists put words in lexical fields. Some of these lexical fields could be hierarchical in nature. Hierarchical. Hierarchical. Sense relations. How is this word related to this word? Is this word greater in strength, weaker in strength, equal? You know, is it opposite, push-pull? You got the reverse nature of push and pull. But then you got conversives, buy, sell. That's not a direct correlation of being an extreme, like push or pull. You know, high, low. You know, is this high compared to this? This can become the new high in comparison to this. It's a ruler, we extend it further out. You follow? And this is what they studied. The lessons went on. We stopped. Antonyms and synonyms and how words contrast with one another. We didn't go deep into antonymy or synonymy. We stopped the lessons. You know, we never got to the end of the book. In this university, they continue the lessons on, and that's the part that that's absent from us. You follow?
Why did they stop? Why did they stop? Financial?
Curriculums, finance, it's organized to dumb you down.
Right.
But if you continue the lesson, you'll get a better understanding of the science of language. And now you can explain more. Like Abdullah said, I talk a lot because I know a lot. You follow? He knows more of the lessons. In these big, thick books, you'll skip over those sentences that don't mean anything and those form words that don't mean anything, and you can extract the core out of those words. I'm seeing new terms to explain how, you know, conquest can dumb down certain cultures.
I think it's the purpose. I think that's the purpose.
Yes, you'll see it here. Now, these hierarchical sense relations, the relatedness of words. Okay, black. We're going to take the lesson a little further. Synonymy. Black, socially, we have problems with it, you know, because of the conditioning and the status that was placed on people in society. White also, right? Now, with just a basic synonymy lesson that linguists get, they don't go through the same psychological and social conditioning.
Emotional.
Emotive meaning.
Emotive meaning.
Same thing. Associative meaning, descriptive meaning, emotive meaning. You applying, all right, a baby right there. I could tell a person, my girlfriend, I love you. I could look at a baby and say, I love you. And the baby will cry. They just know that it's not right. Early language development. You could teach a child milk. Go in the refrigerator, get the milk. Right? Baby might say, a year later, milk. Right? But then the baby might come to you, I take the milk. I didn't teach them the past tense. They just developed it on their own.
They've been listening.
Noam Chomsky believes that contemporary, modern time linguists, Noam Chomsky, he says that we're all pre-wired for language. That's why you don't have to teach a baby grammatical rules. It's built into them. Mommy, I take the milk. Form the past tense on its own.
So that would be also true about a dog. Because if you don't get exposed, you don't have a chance to extend yourself, kind of thing.
Yes, language to the child is very easy. You can learn 2 languages at one time. For the adult learner, very difficult, with some people.
Because we got all the filters. We've been told you can't do this and you can't do that.
Yes.
The kids like, okay, you put it in
Yes.
front of me, I can learn.
Yes, they formulate new rules.
Yeah.
They formulate new rules on their own, and they critique them in their brain. You know, we just think it's babble.
Is that
But
because
they
we were
learn
taught?
the language.
But with us, is that because we were taught that?
They talk to each other. Yeah.
I mean, but
They
is that
just
because
talk to
we
each
were
other.
taught? But is that because we were taught that you can't learn this, you can't learn that, and this is wrong, this is right. You don't need to learn this, that, and the other.
Well, if we got the full lessons, there would be no
Now you're
colorable
talking.
areas.
Now you're talking.
If we got the full lessons.
That's probably why we never got it.
Like, for instance, we went into, we've heard of synonyms, antonyms,
And homonyms.
but have anyone, homonyms, have anyone heard of a hypernym? A hypernym?
So a hyper would be H-Y-P-E-R?
Hyper, yes.
So
Hypernym.
hypernym would be above whatever you already have.
Hypernym.
Oh, I like these words.
Hyper,
Hyper is more. No?
super above,
Oh, okay. Close enough. Super above.
nym name. An example of a hypernym would be color.
Okay.
Color. Try to think of a word that's superior to the word color.
Well,
It's very difficult.
hypercolor?
Hypercolors. See, we just get creative, you know. Maraholic. Beerholic. Color would also be called a superordinate.
Oh. Now, what's the ordinate?
Superior word.
O-R
On this level, there's nothing superior.
or O-R-D-I-N-A.
Like numeracy.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinal numbers, ordinal numbers. There's nothing higher. Nothing higher.
Cardinal. That's what I was doing, cardinal.
No, ordinate.
Superordinate.
Now,
Wow. This is serious.
the way that we can conceptualize that color,
Mm-hmm.
its meaning is superior, because we have words that are lower.
Right.
Violet. Black. Red. White. Yellow. These would be considered
Mm-hmm.
hyponyms.
Oh, less than.
Lower, yes.
Oh, but less than lower than. Okay.
Name. You'll see how this operates,
Interesting.
because we're, you know, keep in mind in color black, we're going to look at how linguists categorize words in lexical fields, and they hold on to good, better, best. They don't go into that fuzzy area. Linguistic term,
Mm-hmm.
fuzzy.
Well, now,
They keep themselves out of that fuzzy area.
okay, my understanding is, if you say black is bad, if you say it enough times, it'll also become a word that means that.
Well, if you know about hypernyms and hyponyms,
Mm-hmm.
superordinates and subordinates,
Mhm.
subordinate,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
you won't take yourself into that fuzzy area.
Okay.
Now, violet
Mm-hmm. Purple.
can be correct. Lavender,
Mm-hmm.
lilac,
Purple.
purple,
Lilac.
crimson.
There you go. See, I thought crimson was a type red, no?
Yeah.
Or that's a combination.
Subordinates of red, crimson.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, purple is red and blue.
Mhm. That's right. Oh,
You
that's right.
don't even see burgundy under violet.
Yeah,
In some thesauruses.
yeah, okay.
You gotta,
But they-
remember, these books and dictionaries are compiled by people, that decide on the usage,
That's what something
the
like
usage panel. Would you
Okay.
believe one of the contributors is Tony Randall, actor? His name, Tony Randall.
I'm not,
Tony Randall, actor.
I am not surprised.
What would be some of the hyponyms of the hyponym red? Brick. Fire. Okay? Now, so far, is this logical? Is it orderly? Does it
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah,
Are all of the terms related?
yeah.
Right? Did we go into a fuzzy area?
Mhm.
You say yes?
I said, yeah, when you start talking pure, something brick, fire could be any color, fire has many colors, no?
Hmm?
Fire has many colors, no?
Yeah. One of the source had this.
Oh,
Okay, let's do this. Let's circle crimson.
Mhm.
And let's circle crimson here.
mhm.
All right. Now,
Red tinge.
black. A hyponym of black, nigger.
Oh, you went, okay.
Colored.
Mhm.
African American.
There's another one. I ain't moving.
Okay? Can nigger, colored, and African American be a hyponym logically, semantically, using common sense? A hyponym of the word, of the hyponym black.
Because of the way we've been taught from the linguistics, yes, it should not be. According to the way we've been taught.
Evil.
Mhm.
Did we get to a fuzzy area?
Mhm.
A linguist would not accept these because they're not ordered. You follow?
Yeah. Keep going.
It's breaking a pattern.
Mhm.
White frost, alabaster,
Superior.
superior. I think we get into a fuzzy area.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I threw it in
I think we get into a fuzzy area.
there. That's why I put it in there.
Okay, now. In linguistics, you have a term called collocational strength.
These are some good words.
Collocational strength. Okay, I'm gonna draw a thermometer.
Mhm.
Try my best. Okay. Now, the word hot, where on this thermometer would you put hot?
At the very top, or close to the top, about a half an inch from the top.
All right, hot here. Where would you put hot? on the thermometer?
At the top.
All right, cold, the word cold. Where would you classify?
I would put cold slightly to the bottom, not all the way, but like a little bit to the end.
All
There
right.
you go. Mm-hmm. 32.
Okay, warm.
Kind of in the middle.
In the middle, something like that.
Halfway.
Okay.
Okay. Easy. All right. Now, what about tepid?
Tepid.
First you.
Mm. I would probably put it between cold and
What
warm.
degree?
Probably.
Give it to me in degrees.
Okay, 33 is cold. I would take it to 39.
What about you?
I say,
What about you?
tepid means lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
I say almost 40.
40.
Close enough. Because 33 is supposed to be cold.
All right. What about nippy?
Nippy. Okay, nippy is not.
Let's all
actually
just
cold.
say a temperature at the same time. Nippy
Nippy.
would be what temperature? Go.
It would be
51.
Like nippy is familiar.
51.
51 sounds close.
Yeah, 51, because it's not as cold.
Nippy.
But it's not as,
It is nippy, but it's not really.
it's not, it's,
There you go.
it's
Not really
chilly,
cold.
but it's not
I
cold.
mean, it's-
cold.
It's
Okay, now what's
cool,
nippy?
for instance.
You say 51? Why is it getting hard? What about lukewarm? Let's all say temperature at the same time. That way it will not have any influence on another person.
Okay.
Lukewarm, what
Lukewarm.
temperature?
60.
65.
She said it.
Okay, close enough.
Okay. And
60, 65, close enough.
All right. Your bath water.
sometimes
Do you like it hot or cold?
hot. Well, I mean, in between hot and
There you go.
lukewarm. Lukewarm. I don't like all that heat.
What temperature is it good?
63, 65.
Lukewarm, I
Your
think.
bath water.
Now, bath water should be like about 50. Lukewarm. I don't like it
75,
heated and I don't
almost
like
80.
it cold.
All
Should be
right.
63, 65, that's it.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
y'all like the bath water lukewarm to little chilly. What about you?
I like mine kind of warm.
Lukewarm. All right, what about your coffee?
Hot.
Oh, no, there is no question, it's gotta be hot.
Hot. Or if it's iced coffee, gotta be ice cold.
There you go.
Now, would you want your coffee to be just as hot as your bath water?
No.
No, my skin could take it.
I say for a young person, yeah.
Hmm?
I say for a young person to be in between.
Okay.
So the coffee and bath water, you wouldn't say it's the same
Temperature.
element of hot,
No.
right?
Right.
You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Now, why there was a variance, you know, hot and cold, we could quickly agree
Mhm.
on the temperatures,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But as the words get a little further and further away from these extremes,
Mm-hmm.
the variances grew.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that variance or that difference is the collocational strength of that particular word. Okay?
Location.
Now, that's the way linguists look at words.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They classify it. And they say, well, that word is. Some thesauruses will have crimson as a hyponym of the hyponym violet. Some won't. Crimson is more red. The collocational strength of that panel of people who decide what words are synonyms of violet will exclude crimson. Some won't.
But I thought violet had some red in it anyway, no?
Well, violet is a true color. Violet exists on the electromagnetic spectrum. Purple doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
Purple doesn't. So violet, its collocational strength is higher than purple when it comes to being a color.
So violet is
But they're
like a
still
violet.
classified as hyponyms of the hypernym color.
Okay.
Okay? That's the way meaning is chased. Linguists try to keep as much content and fuzziness out of words so they don't get to that gray area.
So they won't get to the place that they can't explain. So they don't want to get to the place that they can't even explain.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Close enough.
yes.
Interesting.
Like take for instance, another example, the last 5 minutes.
This is so interesting.
Adult, male, married. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll move a little quicker. Male, female. Okay. The word flower. Which one of these words you would show relatedness to?
Female.
Female.
Female. Okay? Female. Jeep Cherokee.
Male.
Male.
Gotta be male.
Sometimes females, maybe.
Sometimes female.
Yes, sometimes female, but mostly I would think of a male. Jeep had power.
Oh, okay. Necktie.
Males.
Male.
Male.
Most likely male.
Suit jacket.
Male.
Male. Village.
Females.
Both.
Family. It's a whole nother level.
Village.
Uh-oh, I
Equal
jumped,
time.
uh-oh. Went to the third power.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We jumped.
That's both.
Village, male,
Female would be both.
masculine, feminine, male, female.
Then when you start having villages, then you start with families.
But that one word itself, village,
Uh-huh.
male, female.
Right.
Which one?
Both.
Oh,
Both?
Both. Family oriented.
there you go.
It's getting a little cloudy.
Yes.
All right. Family, like you said, male, female.
Interesting.
Now you can see how it can jump. That's why in Hebrew, most of your Semitic languages, they assigned a gender to every word.
Hebrew.
So it's usually.
In Hebrew, the concept of it does not exist.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's foreign to them. A book, the book is masculine,
Right.
but the pages are feminine.
Okay. That makes
You follow?
Yeah. Oh, because
Right.
female is wrapped.
Well,
By the man,
getting
the
into
baby.
the
That's still part of the
psycho
Yeah.
linguistics of it, they assign book as masculine, pages as female. You understand? There was no neutral, no concept of it
Right. That makes sense.
existing in Hebrew.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's foreign, and it's foreign to, that concept is foreign to some languages. All right, now, questions?
So is that why when they would have meetings in villages, the men always had meetings, and women always got ready to prepare the food and everything?
Like rites of passage,
Uh-huh.
I wish Sanjetti was here, he would answer that, yeah, he would give a scholarly answer.
We gotta ask him.
Me, I'm a little,
I'll have to ask him.
which tribe, you know,
Uh-huh.
which clan?
Okay.
The village is the community of people,
Right.
you follow?
Mhm.
The village is the community of people, now,
But how do we decide the leaders? That's the other one.
the elder, the most learned, elder, most learned.
So that's most likely.
Highest, most knowledgeable. That's why most of your pharaohs knew multiple languages.
Uh-huh.
In the book of the Bible, Solomon who speak 99 different languages, Cleopatra 19. Yeah, now, you know, Trump only knows, look, it's a linguistic joke. Okay, a person that knows 2 languages, we call that person bilingual.
Uh-huh. I need a joke.
Bilingual. A person that knows more than 2 languages,
Multi?
we call that person
Multi?
a polyglot.
Oh, okay. Is that the same as multi?
Yeah, many. Polyglot.
I mean, there's a worse than
You know what we call a person that knows 1 language? American.
that. That's true. That's us.
It's a linguistic joke, you know. When you read the linguistic periodicals, you know, you got to make it fun. When you're reading books, you know, this thick, you know, you gotta put some type of entertainment in there.
But the glot though.
Polyglot, glottis, tongue,
Right.
epiglottis.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to.
Excuse me, epiglottis.
Okay,
Epiglottis.
but the glot means.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. This is
Lingual,
interesting.
language, linguistics, lingua, Latin,
Mhm.
Hebrew, Lashon,
Oh my goodness.
Lashon,
No, sure.
Lashon, Arabic, Lisan, Nun, Lisan,
Sound almost the same.
Hmm?
They're almost the same. They're
But
almost the same. When you
look at the word phonetically.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sound it out phonetically. What word do you see embedded? Lashon,
S-A,
Lisanun,
S-H-O-W-N, S-A-N, and that is, S-A-N
This
just kind of shows up.
This is Hebrew for
Mhm.
language,
Uh-huh.
Arabic for language.
Mhm. That S-A-N just shows up, and that H and that H, that's why a lot of times.
Whatever word is being conveyed phonetically, can you see it? Lashon,
That's
Samun,
S-H-A and
Let's,
S-A-N is the same time.
let's.
what other English word?
L-I-S-A-N.
What other English word can you pull out of this? Just sound it out.
License, L-I-S-A-N.
That deals with language
Oh,
or element of language.
listen.
Listen. Listen. Look like a duck, quacks like a duck is a duck. They'll call it pseudo.
Means the same thing in another word for a pseudo. A pseudo means.
These, in your Semitic languages, you know, in the Bible, that he has a hear, listen, hear. It's conveying language and the second component to a language. Listen. You You follow? It's concrete. It's bringing in something concrete, because language, linguists classify language as organized grunts. Some people claim that all language is organized grunts. You follow? How? This is breaking the pattern. Their word for language is marrying the element of speaking and hearing.
Wow.
It's not just arbitrary. It has some type of scientific element to it. Like I said, linguistics should be a sub-discipline of biology or anatomy, because we're using lungs, epiglottis, phylum, velar, velum, our teeth, dentals, our tongue,
That means they'd have to add another 2 years of
the
study.
tooth ridge of our mouth.
That means they'd have to add another 2 years of learning if they did that.
Add 102 years of
No,
learning.
another 2 years of learning, because you got to go out and study the parts of the body and know that this is how it works.
Yes. 40 years. 40 years of learning. 40 years of learning.
Goodness.
40 years of learning. Like the aleph. Someone will write it like this. In the sand. On dirt. When he teaches. If I spin the aleph, what is that? Remember the aleph is a small puff of air before you enunciate a word. Aleph. Hey, small puff of air. See, aleph is just a small puff of air. Aleph.
I can see why they stopped teaching all this. You know too much.
Your windpipe in your lungs.
Windpipe.
And lungs.
It's showing you how it means a puff of air.
Right.
No, I didn't interrupt the class.
You follow?
Thank you.
Concrete versus abstract.
Woo. This-
Concrete versus abstract.
Now you see why they stopped teaching certain things at certain times, because you may know a little bit too much.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You may
Too much of your own
Yes.
of your own culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yes. I mean, they'll dismiss this as pseudo. You know.
So, let me
But
ask you
they'll
a
accept
question.
this. They'll accept this. They'll accept this.
Because they, but also I think sometimes,
This is acceptable. Aleph in Hebrew, alpha in Greek,
okay.
for the A, the letter A, the symbol A. Beit, beta.
Yeah.
This is acceptable. This is not pseudo.
Yeah, but that means that if I say this is acceptable, then you won't know stuff that I don't know.
Correct.
Jeez, this is craziness. Okay. And that's what we pre-calculate, correct?
Yes.
So is there a group of our scholars, masters, that
This is acceptable.
Yeah. Because it's nice and simple,
Mhm.
and they say you don't have to think to do it.
But this is not. Korean, Hebrew for horn.
But remember,
Same. It's the same.
Same.
It's the same word.
Yeah, but remember, the thinking person when you use that, the other stuff you aren't doing anything, you just wrote them.
They got it on here, they don't even have a Q on here.
Mm-mm. I was gonna ask, is there scholars?
Thank you.
The Q
Mhm.
and the H interchangeable.
Right.
True.
Just like the F
Mhm.
and the PH
Mhm.
interchangeable.
But she has a question.
Yes, question.
My question was, is out of our masters that is studying it, do they have a way of teaching this to our young people? I mean, is there,
Good question.
everybody doing all this studying and what we should know and how we should know. So how it's gonna be coming back to the communal, to the family, to the community,
Mm.
and start the recovery. So
Well,
where's the school? Whose school?
Mm.
What school?
Mhm.
Are we going to teach our children instead of keep letting them learn?
in the universities, they'll learn this. They'll learn this.
Yeah.
They'll learn this.
So much this will cost you, 30,
But
40,000?
us, we'll learn it too in the university, but through social conditioning, we'll self-abort ourselves.
Okay, so how we
We'll
gonna stop
self-abort
the
ourselves from the
self-abort?
root.
Okay, so how we gonna stop the self-abort at this junction?
Teaching
And
ourselves,
time.
designing curriculums.
When?
Yeah,
When?
most of the
I mean,
curriculums in these schools are.
I'm not talking about the
designed-
curriculums in the schools, I'm talking about where's your school, where's
That's why we're here, that's why we're here. You know, we don't have the finance to open schools, that's what gravitate. I know a lot of Hebrew words. My goal is not to speak Hebrew. Although I took it twice
Mhm.
here under Stanley Moses Clark.
Yes.
Yeah, Rudolph A. Windsor's grandfather. I took Hebrew twice. And I knew a lot of Hebrew words. My goal was to know the definitions,
Mm.
to expound upon the definitions. And notice that the root word trace its history across the planet.
All right.
Okay, Hebrew definition.
Emma.
So, with everyone who knows, okay,
Mama.
all of our scholars, why aren't we joining together to make sure that this happens financially? And I'm sure we can.
They won't
Spending
cross.
the money.
They self-abort themselves from their own history, and I call it the bridge. They don't know how to cross the bridge. They're over here and they won't cross the bridge.
You'll get to the top and go back and
Go back.
Yes, they won't cross the bridge. You follow Isaac Moseson, who is the founder of Edenics. Most of this, what I showed you, Edenics. Take for instance,
spell it. Goodness.
Edenics. He saw these little patterns in Hebrew
Oh.
and English, these parallels. Take for instance, Paris. Paris. Remember, we erased the vowels.
Mhm.
It means fruit in Hebrew. Okay? The English word pear.
I was going there. Oh, okay.
uh,
Mhm.
Are
BL.
descendant. You still see that mother root in the word.
Mhm.
Berry
Mhm.
being ours. Remember? The B and F
Mhm.
are transliteral.
Yeah.
Apple. The L and the R are liquids. They roll off your tongue. The L and the R are liquids. They're interchangeable.
Mm.
Follow?
Mhm.
You'll see that sound shift. The B to the P. Remember Grimm's law of consonantal shift? And the L and the R's. All right?
They don't teach you this in school. Or if they do, they hope you forget it before you get the drill.
Root. B to the F. Follow. Plum.
Yeah.
It look like a duck, quacks like a duck. It is a duck. This
What's
is
it?
pseudo. But then you have a linguistic
Spin on stuff.
high discipline called comparative linguistics. It's like you're really not comparing the two. You're just dismissing without critically analyzing. Know what they'll say? Isaac Mosesen with Edenics, he traced the root of over 33,000 English words and how they contrast with Hebrew root words. You follow? And they'll say that that's just coincidental.
Right. Spell it identity class.
Edenics.
E.
E-D-E-N-I-C-S. Edenics. Isaac, get stop. The word semantics didn't really take root until 1923 to mean what it really means, you know. 1923, a book called The Mean and the Meaning, The Mean and the Meaning, Ogden Richards. And Richards.
This is serious.
That's a good book, 1923. You know, how they chase meaning.
It's called The Me and the Meaning.
Mean and meaning, I never purchased the book, I'm just doing that off of memory. Iridu, Arets, Erd,
You already see it. Isn't that Earth?
Erd.
Remember that one.
Same,
U-B-E-R-T-S.
the R,
E-R.
the D and the T,
Mm-hmm.
the D and the T, this is Sumerian.
You wrote that before. E-R-A-T-S.
Hebrew, Arabic.
So when you start really studying language, you start seeing all these relationships in it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Say it again.
Started seeing them. And it started with the Aleph and Alpha,
Okay.
Beta, Rho, Resh. They didn't steal. I don't like saying that. It's a continuation. They preserved high science.
How about acquire? I like
Acquired, uncovered.
There you go.
Uncovered. Okay, that's it. How'd I do?
Good. This is interesting stuff. Now, I was saying, when you start studying
Thank you.
language, you start seeing relationships which makes total sense.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.